This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
If your day sounds like
we need the report ASAP,
you deserve Modelo. If you've persevered through
2 more reps, 2 more.
You deserve this ice-cold reward. Modelo, the mark of a fighter. Drink responsibly. Beer imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Hey, y'all. This is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while exploring all over Splash Mountain and giving lectures on orc culture. Okay, HBs, we were terrible yesterday and left you on a mean cliffhanger. Hrothgar had just gotten Jiva to be very vulnerable in front of all of his kin, and then he called her easy and cheap. I still don't think I've recovered, honestly. So when we jump in, she's obviously crying in a bathroom. You know, like, what else is one to do?
And so she leaves.
She goes to the latrine to, cry and wipe her nethers.
And then he shows up. And he's trying to comfort her, right? He's trying to apologize. He's like, I didn't mean to hurt you. And then he gets on his knees and goes to kiss her in her nethers. And she's like, no, I don't want this. Like, I don't want you to buy my affection. I don't want you to pity me. And this isn't genuine.
Well, because we found out that day too, I'm sorry, just for context, we found out that one of the ways that he survived out in the world,
that's the context,
was trading sexual favors with women for shelter. So he said that he would have sex with them and they would give him food and a place to sleep. And then he would stay there until either they got sick of him or he couldn't stand their demands anymore.
Yes, that's the important context here, because she's like, I don't want to be just another of those women to you.
I don't want to be those women at all. Mm-hmm. That is not how I operate.
And then he tells her, this isn't like that. Mm-hmm. This isn't that at all. I really like what we have going on. I like this power dynamic. I like the challenge that you give me. I like that we tease each other. And she really likes it too. But this is the first time that she has heard him state that.
Yes.
And then he's like, an orc's mate deserves my mouth and my tongue. And she looks at him and she says, do you really mean to tell me that you've been depriving me of my rightful due as an orc's mate this whole time? And then he looks up at her with bright, beautiful warmth, affection, and appreciation in his eyeballs. And he says, rubbish, my ungrateful little schoolmarm. How many times now have I freely granted you my good fat Ashkai prick and all of its bounty of seed? How many times have you not even thanked me for it? And she says, you are such a greedy, overbearing lech, as if I'm going to thank you for giving you exactly what you want. And he says that she's going to thank him, his stubborn little sweetling. She's going to thank him with so loudly that he can feel it deep with his own tongue. And then he goes up on her because she's standing and he's on his knees. And it's great.
Well, and one of the things he tells her in this whole thing is like one of the dynamics that he really likes is that she is fiery and that he says it's all the better when you fight me on something and then like we do it. And that's the biggest reason that she says like, I'm sorry, you've been depriving me. And this is actually super bullshit because he's been all about this scent nonsense the whole time, Rathgar, but he's not committed to it at all because one of the things he points out in this apology is like, yeah, I should have your cooch all over my face. Like that is something that people should expect when we aren't having sex in like the penis vagina way. This is one of the things that I should be doing to pleasure you. Rathgar. But he couldn't because of his own like his own thing. Sexual trauma.
So it's amazing. And she looks at him afterwards and she's like, so what do I have to do to get that kind of treatment?
Yeah.
Again, how do I get a little bit of Ashkai lovin', you know? And he says to her, maybe you shall keep behaving for me this night, thanking me as is my due, and sucking out as much of my good seed as you can swallow. And she's like, okay, I can do that.
Interesting.
So we zippy zap. It is school times. We're not going to dive into it. There's too much going on here. But
I think there's like a few things we can do at once. Because there's sort of this pattern that's emerging in their like day-to-day Orc Mountain lives. So she is working on the school and he's helping her with the school quite a bit until he disappears every single afternoon. Nobody knows where he is. He never talks about it at all.
Well, and he won't tell her. He tells her that Ashkai need to keep some of their secrets.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's like, that's bullshit, but fine.
Right. And then we get a few interactions that she sets up with Kest. We get like a dinner that she sort of wheedles them both into, and they're getting to know each other. They're starting to get back together. And it includes learning about her tragic backstory as well. So Kest is like crying over something that they chatted about because Rathgar is telling him what an absolute just, stick of rotten dynamite his mom was, because they have the same mom.
Their mom's
like,
a nightmare.
Absolute narcissist, just asshole. And so he's telling Kest like, hey man, I know you loved mom, but it can't be lost on you that like I am the one who took care of you. Why couldn't she feed you? Why couldn't she clothe you? Why couldn't she do your hair? Why couldn't she make sure you were okay? And P.S., she did not do any of that for me, and nobody was there to do that for me. And so Kest is crying about that, and then he's like, "Oh, does anybody else have any like tragic backstory that they want to say out loud?" I've never felt
more seen by a character than Kest being like, "All right, now that I've trauma dumped, here, does anybody else have some bad shit?" And then I felt so fucking seen by Jiva being like, "Well, my parents died in a fire like 3 years ago.
Does that count?"
And like everyone goes fucking dead silent and just looks at her,
and she panics and she's like, "Oh fuck! I fucked this up. I gotta go." And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I will leave right now." And then Rathgar gets up and he's like, "You skittish puppet, you sit down right now." And he holds her while she tells him the whole story. And like her whole life, she was privileged in a lot of ways because like her parents were diplomats from Azira. So she got like the best education and they were like so attentive and loving and they had like a real family unit. And then she goes off to like tutor. She's gone for 2 or 3 days. And when she gets back, she finds out that the bakery next door set the entire row of houses on fire. And all of her possessions and both of her parents are up in smoke. They're gone. Yeah. There's literally nothing left.
Please hold before we jump into this because we're about to take a one-way train ticket all the way to the end of the book after this dinner scene. I just need everybody to know this is very important. This is possibly one of the most important things in this entire book.
Yeah.
If you like it when a character sucks his own seed out of heroin, I just need you to know that there's a lot of that. in this book.
It's good.
If that's something that you're into, because and it's unfortunately not super duper common. At one point, he does literally come in her and then picks her up so she's half upside down, and then goes down on her while like
slurps it up. He literally chugs it out of her canal, and the reason is because Kest tells him that it's like untoward to get seed on stuff in a schoolroom.
And so he doesn't get seed on it because he slurps it up before it can make it to the table. We jumped over that, and it is about to be a hop, skip, and a jump through some serious shit to the end of this book. So I just needed everyone to know. Very important.
And like one of the things we have to skip in this book is like how incredible the building of this school is and how thoughtful they are to not only do like the reading and writing and the human whatever, but also incorporating orc trades and traditions and everything and getting all of the clans involved.
That's one thing that has just recently started happening in this series, by the way, listener, just for some context, is it's only in the last like maybe book or two before this that the clans have started coming together. Like they existed in the same places, but they were not using each other's strengths to bolster each other, basically, and make other things. You know what I mean? Like the Grisk and the Ashkai were not using their strengths to do one thing really great. They were both doing it okay on their own kind of thing. Like,
and they were losing touch with a lot of their traditions. So like one thing that's big in Beauty and her orcs is that one of the heroes gets back into jewelry making and like forging gold and stuff like that. Because we see all of these weapons and everything that are so-called orc forged, and we learn about like a bunch of different sets of jewelry and stuff over the course of the books. But book one,
nobody knows how to do it anymore.
No, because book one, when we enter, it's like the middle of the war and the end of the Dark Ages. Essentially, we are watching the transition from the Dark Ages to the Renaissance.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Look at us being knowledgeable little babies.
Well, no, but I love it because it happens so, like, the first few books introduce each clan, and it's pretty focused on each clan because they don't interact a ton. But then as, like, the women are there and overall, over a while, we see the culture coming together and enmeshing again and rediscovering, like, drumming they rediscover in this book. They start teaching Orclings how to drum. And Jiva has like a drumming tradition that she includes as well.
Yeah, well, and also like on top of that, bringing everybody to, like the Sky, for example, in the last book, they brought like Sky have started teaching their sign language, which a lot of them use to talk to the rest of the clans. Like this,
and one of the biggest reasons is because they're scouts and they have to be quiet all the time. So they'll do sign language at each other to like not only communicate over great distances, but also because they have to be like incredibly stealthy.
Well, and what that means is that depending on the person, like, so for example, we have essentially I don't remember what's up with Sune, but he doesn't speak. He can speak, but he doesn't.
He just generally is more comfortable signing.
Exactly. And so he can't really talk to anybody else because of that. So like they make and Draftly can't talk. He has an injury to his throat that like it causes him pain to speak out loud. So he only speaks in sign. And so like the Orclings are they're all learning to sign. And they're all learning English or whatever the human language is. But they're also learning like old school Alakesh, and how to write and all of these things, because what they're also trying to do, and I cannot wait for this to come back in future books, is they're trying to bring outside orcs that are raising their sons in these dangerous places. They're like, bring your families here.
Orc Mountain is safe.
Yeah. I have chills. It's beautiful.
And like one of the things that I loved about Widow and the Orcs, that's Killick and Ulfar's book with their third, One of the things I love is that they are setting up like a satellite school because the most mistrusting orcs are the sky because they've been burned so many times and they've been treated as outsiders so much by the rest of the clans. And so they're hoping that like having a remote school, essentially, like an offshoot, will help bring in more of these little orclings. And it's the best. And like watching Killick and Ulfar and Varen like become teachers in this book
It's
is
so
one
beautiful.
of the sweetest things I've ever
Also,
seen.
we get Thrain and Varen's books started in this book because Varen or Thrain, we don't know why. All we know, like all I know right now is that Thrain is a drunk. That's all I know. And that he and Varen are besties and we watch their best friendship implode in the end of this book. And I'm like,
and that's the setup for
the next book,
Beauty and her orcs.
I need to know. I will be I don't know what orc. I'm so fucking struggling right now, Melody, because I'm reading Triggered by the Orc because it's the timeline for that is weird because it came out after Governess, but it's set before Governess, but it's a whole thing. It's fine. But like, where do I go from here? Do I start off on the Sins of the Orc next? Or do I happen to Beauty and the Orcs? Or
You gotta follow your heart. I will say that Sins of the Orc is short.
I know it is. Sins of the Orc and Fall of the Orc are both short books.
Yeah.
They're both like less than 100 pages, or not 100, less than like 200 pages.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Which for Finley Fenn is a short story.
Yeah, that's
everybody.
That's basically a novelette.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because looking back at the first books, I thought the first books were like decently long. No, not even close. The first books are like not that crazy. Like they're long, but they're not like crazy long. And then like the farther we get in this series, they become tomes.
There's more to say.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
She said, get out the chat room and clean mine.
The Glad Girl Group coming at you with a throwback jam. That was Glad Force Flex Drawstring Trash Bags featuring Pine Sol Original Scent. And that's better than all good. It's all Glad.
Need parts now? O'ReillyAuto.com offers in-store pickup, same-day home delivery, or next-day home shipping. Get more parts your way at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Anyway, so they're like doing the school thing, and then we're zippy-zapping to the end of the book.
It's after dinner times.
Yes.
It's after that dinner, and the mood has shifted. And when they get back to their room, Hrathgar is the pinnacle of assholery and looks her dead in her face. And he's like, why the fuck would you lie and manipulate me with your parents? And she's like, what? That is not what happened there.
Why wouldn't you? He says, why wouldn't you tell me about that? And she says, you didn't ask. You've never asked me a single question about myself. When would it have come up?
Yeah.
And like, why should I trust you with that? And so, yeah, he calls her a liar, essentially, in order to manipulate them.
Well, and this is like really touching because she's like, this is when she's honest with him. She's like, I care about you a lot, actually. Like, you are smug and devious and enraging, and you infuriate the hell out of me. But I care about you because you're funny and clever and quite possibly the most generous person I've ever met in my life. You fed me and cared for me and danced with me and braided my hair and given me multiple very thoughtful gifts. And
You're so good with the
You're
orclings.
brilliant with those orclings, and you enjoy
Yeah.
spending time with them, and don't even try to pretend otherwise with me. And has it not occurred to you that maybe I like children, maybe I like teaching them, and maybe I'd like to have some of my own, and that I'd like to have a generous, considerate, and settled partner who has already proven over and over and over again that he is a damned good father and that his first son loves him very much. And then she starts telling him, she's like, I need you to understand that Kest wants you to forget vengeance. He wants you to give up on that, and he just wants you to stay. And I don't know if it fucking even matters to you, but he wants us to have a kid. He gave us a crib when he set up this room.
Yeah.
And then Rathgar is still dead silent. And then she pulls away from him, and I almost cried. She says, and honestly, even if my nefarious plot was to have your son and thereby somehow steal away your non-existent hoard, why the hell would I want to get rid of you when you keep giving me everything I've ever damn well wanted? Because all she's ever wanted is to be loved and like cared
And
for
family.
and somebody she can care for them, and like he's perfect. And then he looks her dead in her beautiful face and he basically says, I don't trust you. I still think that you are going to take whatever potential child I give you and you are going to get rid of him and me the minute you get what you want,
Which is the hoard.
and she's horrified. She's hurt. And then she can't help herself. She's like, this is the worst possible timing for this. But she looks at him and says, that's not what I want, though. I love you. I'm in love with you. I have fallen in love with you. And he says, I need to think about this, and leaves.
He bounces. Well, and one thing that we didn't tell listener that I thought was so beautiful in this book is that in between, like, you know, when we told them about the sort of cyclical day-to-day of their relationship, one of the things she starts thinking is, I'm going to show him a new way. We can be a
We can
unit.
move into
we can
the
be
future
a family.
instead of looking back at the past.
Right. And like she thinks to herself, I've never even been to Azira. I think I probably have theoretical family there, but like, I don't want to go there. This is my dream job. This is my dream man. This is my dream setup. And I think that we could really make a go of this. And she's trying, but she cannot bring herself to say it out loud because he will scamper away like a maniacal squirrel.
Yeah.
And so his whole thing, because he's got mommy issues, he's got mom trauma, and
boy,
we'll skip to like the end and tell you all of it. But there have been seeds that have been planted about the mom and how she didn't like Rathgar, but she did really like Kest as much as a narcissist can.
Yes. Yeah. She liked Kest for what he could do for her because he wasn't a threat to her, is what it boiled down to.
And so the next morning, Rathgar's still not there. And she starts asking around. And as she's talking to Kest, she has this like light bulb moment. And she asks him, was it your mom? Do you think it was your mom that sent Rathgar away? And Kest like goes as white as his gray skin can, and then runs away with no explanation at all.
Super importantly, though, she has that realization, but also he gives her some really important information about the Ashkai in general and their general clan of emotionally stunted orcs. When he says, this is typical of an Ashkai, because why would we ever expose ourselves to that kind of potential pain and loss if we don't actually need to? At least in certain situations, we know. Like, we have at least this much and this is enough.
And he points to Sigurd and Abjorn because he's like, Sigurd really is in love with Abjorn, but he knows that at the very least he will have this friendship forever.
Melody, you well know, because we've been having some conversations where we've been talking about private things lately. I felt
Were you called out
Ashkai.
in this moment? I know. I was just about to say that. In this way, I am maybe an Ashkai. I've got Ashkai in my lineage somewhere, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Because like 10,000%, if I'm because like I am ultimately very happy in the like whatever that current situation is. There could be happier beyond here, but like, why would I take that risk?
Yeah. Why would I give up? Why would I
her?
potentially give up the friendship? Yeah.
Yeah. So Cass fucks off and she's like, oh no, we're going to figure this out.
I'm so sorry. I'm getting a search party involved, and many of them will be children because they've been learning how to scent. And so she's like, I need to find Rathgar. And Timo and Sune are like, I can send him out for you. Like, just show me where you knew where he was last and like how long ago it was, and we'll follow him around the mountain.
This series is such a great example of fantastic use of children in a book.
Hell yes. Hell yes. So what it boils down to is that after a wild goose chase, they end up deep, deep, deep in the depths of the Ka-Esh wing. And they're in like a tunnel that has not been used in decades. And they can smell Rathgar and they can also smell Ulfar, which is really weird. But they can smell them like in the wall. Like they're not.
I was not okay with that.
They're
I just need everybody to know that this was too frogging adjacent. And I was not okay with it because as far as I was concerned, Orc Mountain was tunnels. You can't be in the walls of a mountain. And now that has been very and succinctly and intensely proven false.
Yep.
Which we already knew because of one of the books where they have a secret shroom garden.
Yeah.
But, like, I was able to just kind of break that out. Like, secret rooms, that's different.
That's
a
the
whole
midwife in the orc.
room.
Yes.
Secret room is different. You know what's not different from frogging? Creepy people in the ceiling and tunnels.
Yeah. So they have to bring out Thrain, they have to bring out a Ka-Esh, and like they figure out how to touch a certain spot in the rock so that like a ladder falls out of the ceiling all of a sudden.
Also, Melody, okay, this is when my entire view of Splash Mountain changed. Because in my head, okay, it's tunnels through this entire mountain into like cavern room kind of thing. It never crossed my mind that there were possibly cracks in the ceiling that were human or orc sized. It never crossed my mind that you could just look up and it's not a ceiling, it's not a roof. It is just darkness into God knows where. That never crossed my mind. And when that became clear in this book, because at one point one of the characters, I don't remember who, they look, because it doesn't matter who, because I was so horrified that everything was wiped from my mind. He looks up and he, quote unquote, looks at the crack in the ceiling and cocks his head. And then my brain went, crack?
Oh, no.
In the ceiling? And then he touched the rock and a chain. They heard noises for a little while, and then a chain fell from that crack. And I was like, oh no, baby. And then they pulled on that chain, and we hear another noise. And for a little while, and then a ladder dropped down, and I was like, abso-fucking-lutely not. I am so off board, and don't throw me a life preserver. I don't want it. I don't fucking want it.
Truly. So they all scamper up this ladder into a secret tunnel that nobody knew existed.
Tunnel.
And then they have to walk through for a really long time before they finally start hearing voices. And then when they go into this, like, it opens up into a big giant room around a corner, and it's full of gold. It's the Pirates of the Caribbean room, okay?
Yes.
And Rathgar is there, Kest is there, and Ulfar is there. And Ulfar has been hit over the head. And so we find out all of the secrets. And the biggest reason is
so
because
fucking
Ulfar,
convoluted.
It was, yeah. But one of the other things about the sky is that they take vows very seriously. And so Ulfar has been keeping a vow that was made by his father to Hrothgar's mother. Essentially, here we go. After Hrothgar's father died, she started getting with Grimmar's dad, the big chief man, and she was stealing from other orcs as well in order to like grow this giant horde even more. And then when she realized that like Hrothgar wasn't going to get conveniently killed on the battlefield during the human wars, she decided to get all of the sky together and banish him so that the horde would be passed down to Kest. Because she couldn't stand Hrothgar. He was too much like his father. She wanted it to go to Kest.
He also could have been manipulated into her keeping the horde is the biggest thing.
Or like using it to make the power moves that she wanted them to make. So anyway, what it boils down to is that Hrothgar gets, she dies of a fever all of a sudden. And that was not in her plan. It was not in the Sky's plan. And so the Sky kick Hrothgar out without anybody knowing that the horde actually exists. Like, Kest doesn't know that there is anything to inherit. Because,
it's been hidden in this hidey horror hole of Splash
that she set up with the Kaesh secretly. And, I mean, poor guy is 15. His dad is already gone. He just lost his mother, and then the next day, his brother just disappears in a puff of fucking smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't even think about it from, like, then on out. And then a couple of the things that happened earlier, like, that dagger was one of the things that he recognized from his dad's horde. And so he presented it to Kest to sort of like feel him out on, do you have horde? Do you know about horde? Have you been trading stuff that is in horde? And Kest wanted nothing to do with it, and because he didn't know if he could trust Kest. Anyway, so all of this happens, and then Jiva is there, obviously. Oh my god, and all of the children are there. And, like, people are being held at sword point. Like, it's not great, everybody.
This is chaos. This is...
Yeah.
Like,
nobody's thinking about the kids and what they shouldn't witness.
The children!
Honestly. Anyway, so he comes after Jiva, and he's like, see, this is what you would get if you were with me. And she's like, I don't want it. I just want you. And he's like, I'll never believe you, basically. And then she has to tell all of them. We find out that Killick and Ulfar and the entire leadership, the only person who didn't really know was Kest and people who are not involved in the story.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah. And what we find out is that everybody else was looking back at the past 6 books or whatever and being like, it doesn't really matter the reasons that people get into. A lot of times these relationships just really take off like fire,
Anyway.
Like, it really ends up working out for the best. And so that's sort of what they were doing. They were like, Jiva, we knew that you were coming in with the best of intentions, and we thought that it might just work out with you and Hrothgar and you could make a life here with us.
Well, especially because all of them, their sniffers work 1% of the time, and their sniffer can tell that Wrath actually cares about her beyond her.
Yes. Yeah.
Smells like pine. She said, get out the chat room and clean mine. Stretch, feeling fine, so fresh.
The Glad Girl Group coming at you with that throwback jam. That was Glad Force Flex Drawstring Trash Bags featuring Pine Sol Original Scent. And that's better than all good. It's all Glad.
But he's like, be gone, get out of here, don't dawdle in the corridors to try and manipulate me into getting you to stay.
He tells her, she's like, I would like to make a new agreement with you. And he's like, yeah, I'll fucking bet you do, you money-grubbing bitch. And she's like, the new agreement is you have to stay at Orc Mountain for a year and help at the school. You're not allowed to leave. You have to spend time with Kest. I would like you to give everybody the best education that you can, using the money that you now have, that you are a wealthy man. And I would like the payment that I'm owed. and that's it. And he's
I just want a year to live on. I want enough money to live on for a year while I find another job. And he's like, you can't possibly want that little.
well, and then she's like, no, that's really what I want. And then this knuckle fuck looks
I know.
her and says, you're just trying to manipulate me into offering you more by asking for what you just did.
And Jiva's head explodes. Jiva's like, I cannot. Nothing I do will work.
I don't want to steal from you, dude. I don't give a shit about your hoard.
Yeah.
And then he says that thing. He's like, you're going to just try and manipulate me. You want the money. Like, you're going to make a big ol' hullabaloo in the hallway and everyone's going to be so sad. And they're going to come to me and be like, why were you so mean to Jiva Okoro? And try and convince me to come back to you and chase after you. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to chase after you and ask you to come back. And then you get the hoard. Then you get the hoard.
Well, and like, to be clear, all of this is coming out of his mom's playbook.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he has very good reasons to feel like somebody would do this because he's seen with his eyeballs that it happens.
This man has PTSD, and trauma, like CPTSD out the fucking wazoo. This is literally, he's having a physical reaction that is shutting his brain down to a point that he cannot look at this logically. And, like, to be fair, he has a terrible past with his mother. And then every woman for the rest of his life has done nothing but use him for his prick, his body, or his gold.
Yeah. Yeah. So she is like, nope, I'm leaving right now. And she tries to say a quick goodbye to all of the Orklings and stuff.
Well, specifically, she's in the hoard room. Jewel comes up and she's like, I'm sad that you're leaving, but let me help you pack. And then she's like, well, I have to go now, so because I can't say goodbye to everybody. It's going to be too much. And then she walks out into the bedroom and they're all there, just crowded in like a bunch of little puppies.
Yeah.
To say goodbye.
They came to her to say goodbye. And so when she walks out, she has to walk past Rathgar and he grabs her wrist. And then she turns around and he puts a bag of gold in her hand. And she was like, I was going to forget about my year's salary. Oh, fuck. So now Killick and Ulfar are going to take her back. And when she gets outside, she finds out that all of the older Orklings, they're going to use her trip back to the place as like a field trip, as like a learning on the go thing, a learning in action.
And scouting adventure.
Yeah. Well, because the other part that we didn't talk about that I forgot about in the deal is that I want to go back to the fuckward's house and I want to give back everything we took from the servants and, you know, all of that. Not what we took from the wealthy people. You can do whatever you want with that. But I want to give all the servants stuff back.
And the kids. Because, like, the kids, they didn't do anything.
Yeah. And I want to be able to leave letters for the kids explaining that I have to go and that I love them and it had nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
And so that's where they're headed. They take this, like, 5-day trip all together. It is the best. She gets to spend all this time with little Orklings. And every once in a while, Killick will be like, your Ashkai is going to stop being dumb soon. And she's like, I really don't think he is. And he's like, no, it's going to happen.
Well, because Killick points out, he's like, he didn't ask for his ring or his cuff back.
And she's like, OMG, am wearing wedding ring still.
Leave this.
Oh,
and then she's like, she
no.
starts to have this like feeling of like, maybe, because like one of her traits is endless optimism.
Yeah, and hope.
I would have been beat down so badly by this point in this book that I would never be able to feel hope about a single thing ever again.
No, Rathgar and I couldn't work. I would never be able to unhear many of the things he says to her.
So she's back at the house. She's put everything back. She's left all of the notes and things. And then she's in the schoolroom to say goodbye to everything, basically. Like, it's time for the next step. And then from behind her, she hears him. And I can't believe she agreed. Oh, by the way, this is so important. Killick was like, when he inevitably comes for you, I need you to make him beg and cry before you take him back.
Yeah.
She doesn't, listener. she listens to him and she doesn't believe him and he continues telling her all of these beautiful things. And then she's like, fine, let's fucking do it. I love you. You love me. We're going to make this work. And then he tells her that he's given away the entire cursed hoard to the mountain to make things better for the school and everybody and the children.
Yeah, he says that he gave it to the horde with a special allocation of like half of it that's only going to go to the school and education. And he gave a bunch of stuff to Kest. And so he's like, so now I really need to know, and I'm going to find out if you actually want me. Because I don't have my hoard. It's gone. And she's like, yeah! Like,
so
incredible!
Hilarious. There's a couple of hilarious moments, like where they're having sex. He is fucking the hell out of her on yet another schoolroom table.
Yeah.
And he says, I should have known, Puppet. You always took far too much joy from this. And she looks at him and she's like, you intolerable, ingrateful, ingrate. You ought to be. And then he pounds the fuck out of her so she can't keep talking. And they have a fantastic time. And then hilariously, after it, Killick is annoyed as fuck. He's like,
so mad.
Well, this was so romantic because he's stealing an art piece that she really loves, that at the very beginning of the book, he was like, I don't give a shit if that's a valuable piece of art. I'm not tromping around the realm with a piece of art strapped to my back. And this time he takes it for her. Very cute. And Killick shows up, though, and he's like, you didn't even, like...
He didn't beg enough. I didn't hear a single cry.
He didn't cry. He didn't beg. And now
you let me down.
Thieving. Now you're thieving while we're all standing out here waiting for you. Turns out Cecily's there. He came to get them because Cecily has abandoned the family for good reason. Apparently, they locked her in a cellar and forgot about her.
Oh my God. So Cecily is like, please don't make me go back there and stay. She's been living in the barn for a while and nobody knows that she's there. And so they decide to let her stay with them. He says, we need to take this youngling. And earlier on in the book, Jiva was telling him about Cecily and how they treated her. And he was like, that's so wrong. They should be cherishing and keeping that child safe, you know? And so he's like, hey, Jiva, do you want to adopt Cecily? I would love to be her new dad. And she's like, yeah, you'd be the best dad for Cecily ever. And so it's really cute though, because she calls him Pa, but she calls Jiva sister. Because she has a mom that she remembers. Yeah. And she doesn't want to replace her mom. And so they have this beautiful little found family. Timo and Sune and Cecily become immediate best friends. They're an immediate triumvirate.
Just importantly, listener.
Yeah.
On the way back, they stop at another inn. And Abjorn is there. He loves little Cecily and has brought her a little snack. And it's actually secretly him being like, hey, Rathgar, I could sniff cigar on you. Is he here?
How's he doing?
Rath is like, he is here. Do you want me to call him for you? And he's like, no. And then,
not important.
And then Jiva's like, I'm over this. Hey, Rathgar, I'd love to see Sigar. And so he does his little orc whistle. And Sigar comes tromping up the stairs, and he's a disheveled mess, just like Rathgar was. And she throws Abjorn under the bus, and she's like, hey, Abjorn wanted to see you. And he's like, I would not. I would never. Why would I be interested in seeing Sigar?
Yeah, I have no idea. And then Sigar comes in, and he's like, you're the one who left without saying goodbye. And then Jiva's like, Sigar, I really think that Abjorn's behavior has been wild lately, and he needs a firm but caring hand to take care of him, to really, really show him what's going on. And then she can see Abjorn's pants, like, tenting.
Twitch.
And he's like, and so Sigar's like, would you welcome that from me? And Abjorn's like, I wouldn't not welcome it from you.
And then they do fuck it out on Jiva and Rathgar's bed in the inn.
Oh.
And they just
stand
there and watch. Oh, it was so funny because from her point of view, she's like, oh, good guys. They'd indeed just stood here and watched all of this. And her flushed, feeling glance up toward Rathgar found him looking decidedly smug. I have chosen such a gifted Ashkai mate. This was good work, my clever puppet, as always. And then they have this adorable scene, which was hilarious because after the fact, Sigar is the cutest. He pummeled the hell out of Abjorn's ass. And then afterwards is like kissing up on his neck. And he's like, are you well, Kairosti? Was this too much? Do you feel any pain? And Abjorn's like, man, I could eat a whole moose. I feel fucking great. Sorry for ruining your bed, y'all. But like, it was kind of your fault. Gotta go. And they fuck off. And then very importantly, the most important thing that's happened in this entire book, Wrath looks at her and her beautiful eyeballs, and he says, should you wish to have me thus, to bear me, teach me a lesson? And she remembers a comment he had made like way back in the gap that she was like, that's kind of a weird thing for him to have said right here.
And he also got really excited and like gave her a weird look when Killick was like, you didn't even make him cry.
And like at one point he had said to her, do you wish to teach me a lesson, my prim little schoolmarm, to punish me? And then she looks him in his beautiful eyeballs and she says, I thought you'd never ask, handsome. Now make yourself ready for me at once. And it is the most beautiful scene of praise and domination. And her telling him what to do and taking control of his pleasure instead of him taking control of hers. And it's full of praise because he's expecting her to like hit him, to basically make this a revenge fuck.
To punish him. And his mind is blown because she does the exact opposite. And I was going to say this earlier, but one of my favorite things in a book is when people tell each other off, but in really like about nice stuff, you know? Earlier when he was like, why did you lie to me about your parents? What are you trying to manipulate me? And she's like, no, because you're wonderful and I love you and I want to be with you, you goddamn asshole. Like you would be the best father and your heart son loves the fuck out of you. Like it's the best.
This is the best. This is one of those things that I love reading it in a book. And if somebody did it to me, I would curl up into a shrivelly little ball and die.
See, I have given one of these speeches before. And it's really fun.
I could probably give one, but receiving it, I am so conflict avoidant that I would not be able to hear any of your beautiful words. Your beautiful words would be lost to the annals of time.
Yeah.
And I would just hear that you're angry. So afterwards, he looks at her and he says, I thank you, Poppet. This was very kind, but he looks really, really like awkward and uncertain and uncomfortable. Yeah. And she looks at him and she says, this was greedy. And she can tell that he feels awkward. And she's like, this was greedy, you mean? This was me blatantly using you, love, for my own selfish entertainment. And then he's basically like, I just think that this might not be what you want from your big, strong orc mate. And I just don't want you to think differently of me and to lose your trust in me. And she's like, Rathgar, of all the secrets you've kept from me, this is absolutely not the one that would break my trust in you.
No. Well, and like, basically, she also tells him, like, this doesn't diminish your masculinity.
Well, and then he says, but you did not even truly punish me or make me suffer or beg. You said kind things, sweet things, things you knew that I wished to hear. And he says, how you did this, it was not that I have ever tasted before. To be longed for, hungered for, to be told I'm good and strong and worthy. His voice choked, his head shaking. Whilst you also tease me and challenge me and draw out my pleasure without one breath of anger or mockery. How can this be truth? He whispered. as a streak of wetness escaped from his eye down toward the bed. How can this be mine? I am dreaming. I can, and I never wish to awaken. And she says, "You can't be dreaming, love," she said as lightly as she could once she'd drawn away and bumped his nose with hers. "Because if you were, I would not have seed currently dripping into my ear."
Yeah. Yeah.
It was hilarious and touching and beautiful because she knew that he doesn't need degradation. He needs praise. He needs to be reminded and reassured
Yeah.
that he's loved and good and wonderful.
Right. And she tells him right now, she's like, and by the way, if this wasn't what you wanted, if what you want is like for me to hurt you and punish you and say bad things to you, I don't think I can do it. And so I like, please know that. And he's like, no, this was perfect. And then he's like, what you can do is really be my good, grady schoolmarm that fights me all the time. And then once you do that enough, then we can have another night like this where you take over.
Basically, you better not misbehave because I like being in charge. And you have to be very, very good to get me down on my knees and begging you.
Yeah.
You're a good boy.
And she's like, I would love to be good for you until you can be good for me.
Smells like pine. She said, get out the chat room and clean mine.
The Glad Girl Group coming at you with that throwback jam. That was Glad Force Flex drawstring trash bags featuring Pine Sol original scent. And that's better than all good. It's all Glad.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like finishing your laundry and successfully matching all your daughter's baby socks together on the first try.
Let's see. Panda socks, fire truck socks, socks with those cute little strawberries on them.
You matched each and every one of those tiny socks. I mean, has this ever happened in the history of laundry?
And a penguin wearing a cowboy hat socks. Done.
Enjoy the moment, Dad. You've earned it. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
Then we have epilogue times. We get to see beautiful things of like the schools going. It's 6 months later or something like that. She's now pregnant with his son. Kest and After are super excited about the baby, although the weird, crazy fortune teller prophecy boy who lives in the mountain, that ancient old man, has said that this child is going to be the greatest healer of all time, of his generation. And they're like, well, fuck, that's going to suck. So I'm just, that's important because I'm excited about Orc NG. Orc next gen.
My God.
Orc next gen.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, because we got so much of Tangle this time, who is the first son of Grimar and Jewel. Little Tangle.
Yes, and his
is
little
sweetest.
Oh my God, at one point we get to talk about this because I honestly, Mel, I'm just gonna say this right now on the record. I am impressed that it's only 2.5 hours in for this book.
Same.
Who are we?
I know. We really did a great job on this one.
And we skipped so much.
We were forced to skip so many things, including shadow puppet dragons.
And poop.
And poop jokes for toddlers.
Poop jokes. I can't believe you and I did not even touch on poop jokes.
I know. We didn't have time.
We love a poop joke here at HBHQ, and we skipped the poop joke because it wasn't necessary for you.
But we got in there at the end. It's good. It's fine. Now you know.
We had to say that there was one at the very least, because it's so funny and so cute. Oh, and just to finalize everything, Cecily is their baby. She is their child now. And she took care of her family because she was like, she sent a letter to her auntie that said, I ran away and I stole everything and I threw all of your jewelry in the bottom of a well. And they're like, that was
Hey,
a lot of
girl.
jewelry. She's probably going to try and dig all of that up. And then Ulfar, baby, is like, well, I mean, you still have the jewelry, so I'll just go dump it in the well for you.
Yeah. At least like one piece. We'll just go dump it. We don't need it anyway. And so Ulfar's going to trek all the way the 5-day trek back just to cover Cecily's booty.
Oh my God. And then we also get a tease about Calfer's book. That second chance romance can't come fast enough. Calfer has a 4-year-old child with a human woman, and it was a bad experience at the beginning, so he can't even talk to them, but he just leaves them food and money randomly, and he's so sad. And
I want a Calfer to have an HEA, you know what I mean?
The fact that there's only
orcs can grow.
2 more books for me to read in this series before I'm caught up. I'm so mad. I have not Taheen. What's his name? Taljan and the next boys, Drunk Boy and
Thrain and Varen.
Varen. That's it.
Or maybe it's Varin. I don't know. Shane E says Varin. I don't like it, but it's fine.
Not Shane and Baron. Those boys, and then Killick and Ulfar's book, and that's it.
Yeah.
Finley Fenn stuff, babe. Amazing. I still can't. Yeah, so 2.5 hours in. What's your lady love, Mel?
Oh, golly.
I got to you first.
Oh, noes. I don't think I have a lady love.
Nothing?
Yes, I do. I must have one. Look, it's seasonal affective disorder. Nothing's looking loving right now. You know what? My lady love is normalizing sleeping in separate rooms every once in a while. That's my lady love. I've been snoring a tiny bit, and like after a while, it's really tough to look at Michael in the morning and see how much he's dragging because I kept him up all night. And so every once in a while, he never asks me to. I'll just grab my pillows and I'll give him a kiss and I'll be like, I'm going to the guest room. I love you so much. Have a really good night's sleep. And then, I'll come back. So normalize sleeping in separate rooms every once in a while for reasons or not.
I love that. My lady love is I'm bad at eating. Historically, it's only gotten worse since I've become medicated using a stimulant medication for my ADHD every morning. But boy, I do have my coffee every day because I have a coffee machine it's like a little ritual the night before, right? Like I prep it all, I set the little timer, it's ready when I wake up. Because of this eating issue, I struggle to get my calories every day. So what I have done, I have bought a chocolate protein shake.
Yes.
And I have been using those as creamer in my coffee because I know
love a chocolate protein shake.
I am going to drink that coffee. I usually drink it black. I know I'm going to drink that coffee, and that doesn't help either because that has caffeine in it. So like caffeine and a stimulant medication really means that like it's not until like 7:30 p.m. that my body is like, oh, sounds great. Food. It wasn't until I bought a coffee maker that would go off on its own in the morning that I'm having coffee instead of a truly, y'all, listener, I'm not putting a number out there because I'm not putting myself on blast like that, but the amount of Monster I was drinking because it was so much, it was easier. It was so bad. I am saving so much money with my fancy coffee maker. Yeah. And this little ritual.
Sabrina was drinking Monster like most people drink seltzer throughout the day.
so bad. The point of this lady love is like just have a little bit in there. I also actually, with my last grocery order, I went ahead and ordered a little bit of fiber powder because I know I'm not eating enough fiber on top of all of this. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of fiber in there as well. And like, I don't have to blend anything. And I'm just going to mix that puppy up. And that's what I'm just going to drink throughout the day.
I love it. I love it.
Super low. And you know what? This is that whole idea of something is better than nothing. You don't have to 100% it. You do not have to be a fucking champ at doing the thing. Getting this little bit of protein and carbs and sugars and all of these things, just, it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Keep being a badass. And love yourself as much as you love treating a fictional universe like an anthropologist. I think is what I'm going to say.
I
know more about orc culture than I do many human cultures.
yeah, you know what? Love yourself as much as you love getting invested in something.
Yeah.
So much. And there's no negative, right?
No.
There's not a negative effect on your life to just have this beautiful hyperfixation.
Yeah.
Melody, there is fan fiction out there. I did find fan fiction.
No, I can't know about that. I cannot know any more about that. I cannot have any more information. I can't have any more information. I love you so much.
You know what? Love yourself as much as you love setting a boundary.
Yes.
All right, friends. Have a lovely, delightful, I don't know when this is coming out, at some point.
December.
Enjoy the end of 2024.
Oh, God. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Cannot know about that.
Melody, oh my God. I love you so much.
Thank you for being such a wonderful part of Romancelandia. We'll be back next week with our recap of 2 Christmas novellas. On Monday, you get Have Yourself a Billionaire for Christmas by Tracy Livesay. And on Tuesday, we're serving up The Navy SEAL's Christmas Bride by Cora Seaton. See you then. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by me, Melody Carlisle. Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by the ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. That one small action is a huge way to help the show. If you want to get in touch with us for advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on TikTok at Heaving_Bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. See you next week.
She said, get out the chat room and clean mine. Stretch, feeling fine, so fresh.
The Glad Girl Group coming at you with a throwback jam. That was Glad Force Flex Drawstring Trash Bags featuring Pine Sol Original Scent. And that's better than all good. It's all Glad.